I guess in another way to paraphrase it is, should one get a legal professional to do their will, or should they do it themselves? My response to that is,
what are the strangest things that
interesting things that we've come across is people didn't know that they, from an extramarital affair that had happened.
So what all can people, or in your experience, what have you seen people actually adding to the will?
You know, we've seen, you got the classic one, if we're talking about, for example, I don't want to be buried here. I want to be, I want my ashes to be spread certain places around the world.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Unwind, Unfiltered, Unscripted. And today's guest, Sunny, is very special because we're going to talk everything about legal matters.
We are, that's right. So our special guest here is Pasha. Pasha, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much.
Now, knowing you from Conatur Legals, right, would love to know who is Pasha.
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think we'll be here for longer than we'll do, but I'll try to give you a quick summary. So, been operating in the field of legal for the last 12 years. Commenced Conveyancing Legal back in about 2017. So we specialize more in transactional legal matters, so non-litigation. So everything from property settlements to business type of material, all the way to wills and estates and everything else people need in between.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, Pasha, when it comes to legals, I think the very first thing that comes to my mind is wills.
Okay.
And that is because, I don't know why, for some reason, we always think that wills has to be done, when you're older. But no one knows about time. No one knows what's going to happen. Would love to know a little bit around why wills are so important.
Okay.
And what exactly are wills?
Fantastic. So I guess from a simple sense, a will is a vehicle that allows one to be able to document their wishes for time that once they've departed this world, so to speak. So from that point of view, it deals with everything to do with assets and liabilities that people sometimes forget.
Right. Excellent. And what are the consequences of not having a will?
Okay. So depending on what type of assets one has attained, for example, it can have different mechanisms as to how much repercussion or negative issues happen or arise thereafter. So I guess controlling the controllables is the best thing one can do. And by documenting your blessings through a will, you can avoid a lot of particular issues. So if, to put me on the spot, if there's one particular thing is if you don't have a will and you have property, and certain things happen, a scenario gives rise, the government will actually step in to then be the executor of the estate.
Okay. And then they can take over my property if I die. Is that right?
Yeah. So depending on the scenario, of course, if there's no one else left in, or, if your partner is not part of that property jointly, then that can have other consequences. And at the end of the day, the government isn't there to take things away from you, but obviously there'll be added costs and time that can greatly elapse, where if you can save money and time, why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that will also have repercussions on the livings after the person who's passed away, right? That if they don't have will and such kind of interventions has been done by government, the living people would be also going through a lot of legal proceedings as well, whereas a will provides more clear picture for the living.
Yeah, look, there'll be additional hurdles that one has to jump through. But at the same time, what can arise when, I guess, the intentions are not recorded in something like a will is then disputes can occur more frequently. It'll become a version of what he said, she said, rather than here's something that's documented and this is my intentions.
Now, everyone thinks that it's just a document where people just write their wishes, but that's not true. It has a legal aspect as well. And how important do you think is to involve a legal practitioner when somebody is about to decide their will?
Sure. Very good way of you raise that question. I guess in another way to paraphrase it is, should one get a legal professional to do their will, or should they do it themselves? My response to that is obviously biased, but
Conatur Legals?
yeah, but at the same time, it's one can go and do a building themselves and take over the construction, but we all know the pitfalls of that and the issues can arise if one doesn't do things correctly. Now, that's something that you control while you're alive. Imagine accumulating millions of dollars worth of assets and then everything not going where you designed it to go because something hasn't been documented. If someone does try to do their will, of course, there are services out there, or you could go to the news agency, you can grab the thing and do your own will. But those things are fraught with a lot of issue because they don't cover everything. Even if one says to themselves, I don't have much, that's not the way to think about it, because it's not just about assets and liabilities. It could be everything else that you want to get across to a loved one, something that you might want to leave to. That's not necessarily, for example, part of the family. It might be a charity. It might be something external. It might be how you want to be buried. One of those generic over-the-counter things don't cover everything necessarily.
That's interesting. So you mentioned about how someone wants to be buried as well. So
Yeah.
what all can people, or in your experience, what have you seen people actually adding to the wills?
Okay, so, we've seen, you got the classic one. If we're talking about, for example, I don't want to be buried here. I want to be, I want my ashes to be spread certain places around the world, and if that's not put into the will, those blessings, those intentions don't get done because the person who's handling that doesn't know, so people don't reveal a lot of their cards close to their chest once it's something towards the end. Hence why we come back to things. You don't necessarily have to be on your deathbed to have a will. So it's like if you're going to be, best thing is any decision you make in life is like you're of sound mind. Well, this is the same type of scenario.
Right. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw a curveball.
Yeah.
What are the strangest things that you have come across in people's will? You don't have to name people's will.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Well, South Australia is a bit small, so I try to keep it as generic as I can. Interesting things that we've come across is people didn't know that from an extramarital affair that had happened, they had other kids, other places in the world. Or, for example, one family member to another might think they've got a lovely relationship with one person, like an aunt or an uncle, but in actual fact, the person who's preparing the will does not like that. So they will actually mention for that person to expressly not be part of the estate. They mention it actually by name. So, that's, I can't get into too juicy because it will become, I have to keep it broad, but yes.
That's interesting.
I try.
So hence we know the importance of having a will for sure, and making sure we add these in there. The other thing, other service that you provide is also conveyancing, and I think would love to know, when do we involve a conveyancer?
Beautiful. So I guess if the intention of the person is to look at buying, selling, subdivision, anything to do with property or land, that's really, really, because many people don't know what conveyancing is. It's not on top of the agenda. So, but as a property lawyer, being transactional, we do provide that service. And without tooting our own horn, I think we're quite good at it. I think you're a previous client of the practice.
That's why I use the services, and I know how amazing you are.
Beautiful. So yeah, so as I say, the best thing is a team effort. So we do have the team behind us to do everything in that regard. But again, if you're looking at anything about property, that's when you start thinking about a property solicitor to do conveyancing.
That's perfect.
Now, from a property seller or buyer's perspective, why it's important to have a conveyancer? What role does a conveyancer play?
Okay. So basically to allow the transfer of the title of the land or property to go under one's name, it might be personal, it might be under a super fund, it might be a company. That's the main reason why you need to engage someone to do something like that. So they work hand in hand, for example, with your finance professionals, with a real estate agent. And if you're buying, to use that example, then there also will be another solicitor or conveyancer on the other side representing the vendor, the seller. And the way things are going now, obviously property prices are increasing, land values are going up, things are getting more technical than ever before. So it makes sense to go with a professional that isn't just about, okay, next. We, for example, take the time to look at it from a holistic point of view, see what is your intention, what are you planning to do? So then the advice can be orchestrated accordingly.
So if somebody is planning to buy a property to live in, would have a different approach as compared to somebody who was buying an investment property, or somebody's buying an acreage, or somebody's buying the commercial property, right? So you provide a bespoke advice and service for each different intentions that people are engaging in property.
Correct. You got to wear a different hat depending on the client scenario. And I guess that's where being a lawyer specialized in property and commercial has its benefits, because they're not just getting a conveyancer. We have conveyancers as part of our team, but with me as well, we'll review every contract to make sure everything is okay before they sign and educate them through the process. So when they go through it, they have less questions and less concerns.
And what I understand, you obviously need conveyancer whether you buying or selling as well. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So the main reason now is, like, everything's become digital. So the platform to complete everything is now online, something called PEXA, Property Exchange Australia. So every settlement goes through that. So you have to be registered with PEXA to be able to do the settlements.
Right. Okay. That's good. Would love to get into some more fun stuff as well, Pasha. So we are going to get into the rapid fire now, Pasha. So the very first question to you is, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Can you so? Lucas.
I want to ask you to do the same.
One of these ones, I'll do this one for you, but that's as much you get out of me.
Fantastic. My question is, if you could have dinner with any fictional character, who that would be?
Fictional character. That would be...
And the clock is ticking.
It's thinking, there's a couple there. That would be Optimus Prime.
Amazing.
Now, what is the weirdest food you've ever tried?
I have tried llama.
Llama?
So when I went to, back when I was a little bit younger, went to Machu Picchu. So in Peru, that's one of their delicacies.
Is it good?
Like people come to Australia and say, I've tried kangaroo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's nice. Okay, my question is, if you could live in any time period of past, what it would be?
I've always had a passion for ancient civilization. So the quality of life may not be what it is now, but it's going to ancient Egypt. Yeah, so something like that.
Yes.
And Pasha, obviously being a lawyer and a conveyancer, so much on your plate, you get a full-on day. How do you unwind yourself at the end of the day?
Oh, look, I try to just, I guess, not try to think about work, and I'm the type of person that I do carry the emotional baggage of clients with me in their scenarios, and it's hard to, I guess, divide myself from that. But I think a good professional has that balance. So the best thing is, I like my futsal. I like to spend time with the wife, going places, and going for a long walk definitely clears the head.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's good. Is it you or her asking to go for a walk?
Let's not start.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Close to that.
All right. My question is, if you could have any superpower, what would that be?
reading minds. Yeah, I think that would be good.
Exactly. We just
Psychic. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, was it your childhood dream to become a lawyer, or what was your childhood dream? Did you think of becoming a Hollywood actor or something?
Or something like that. No, I don't think I was ever that artistic to think of something like that. But I guess the way initially growing up, I loved the sciences. And the older I got, though, I realized, for example, philosophy is a passion of mine. But in this day and age, one can't really make, unless you become academic, can't really make a living out of philosophy. So next thing was in that type of branch of, let's call it humanitarian sciences, then law seemed the natural progress. And my teachers used to call me the mouth from the south. So
Yeah.
Us from the south.
I know as I talk too much, and law was natural for that. So.
Love it. Love it.
Right. One last question. What's next on your bucket list?
Next on the bucket list, so I've recently gone to Egypt, so that was very last thing to tick off there. But after this, personally, I love to be a family man. So so recently got married and to have a family. So sounds a little bit dull, but for me, it's an adventure.
It's very exciting. It is exciting. That's good.
All right.
Like,
Okay, to finish off, we ask this question to all of our guests. If there is a book about your life, what would be the title of that book and what would the blurb behind the book says about it?
The movie of life, have I played my role well?
Oh,
it's
So that's something that I reflect on. And the blurb is, I guess, how has one orchestrated life to their satisfaction?
beautiful. That's good. Lovely. Thank you so much for
Pleasure.
the podcast, Pasha.
It has been very insightful. We definitely know the purpose of having a conveyancer and also having a will in place. So we really appreciate that, and thank you once again.
Beautiful. Thank to both of you and to the audience. Make sure these guys are going places big and quick. So make sure you can.
And lovely everyone.
thank you.